1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 6, 8, 9,
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
These are the stakes. To make a world in which all of God's children can live, or to go into the dark. We must either love each other, or we must die.
Vote for President Johnson on November 3rd. The stakes are too high for you to stay home.
Foolish mortal, you have inadvertently tuned into the forbidden frequency. It's Zombie Astronaut's Frequency of Fear.
Forceps. Now the retractor. Scalpel. Lobo, how many times have I told you that when delivering a blade, we do it crossways, not vertically, so that we don't stab Master in the hand? Oh, get the door. No, never mind, I'll get it myself. What?
Nice to see you too, Doc.
Oh, come in.
Something wrong, big guy?
Look what Lobo did.
Ooh, that looks delicious. Did it make you breakfast or something?
What? He stabbed me in the hand, you mad cannibal.
Oh yeah, your hand, I see. Is this a bad time?
No, this just hasn't been a good week for me. Science has not been kind to me lately.
So the world domination thing's not going well, huh?
No.
Well, look, buddy, just have a seat, turn on the TV, and I'll make you a mimosa. How's that?
A mimosa might be nice. And I do like insulting the people on the old TV.
Just point me to the kitchen, if you will. The lighting in here leaves something to be... to be desired. Oh, I think I broke something.
Look at that mess. I could have told you that was the... Wait a minute, I didn't know that was a storage closet.
What did you think it was?
The bathroom.
When is the last time you went to the bathroom?
Wolfenbridgen This Week, the special election edition. Here's Bob Wolfenbridgen.
I'm Bob Wolfenbridgen, and welcome to Wolfenbridgen This Week's special election coverage. As President Greg G. Moogley seeks a second term, many point out the laundry list of examples as to why he should never be allowed in the White House again. To discuss these issues, we're honored to have President Greg G. Moogley on Wolfenbridgen This Week. President Moogley, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Bob. Love the mustache, by the way.
Thank you. President Moogley, during your first 4 years as a fiscal conservative, you managed to spend over $10 trillion.
We needed to pick up a few things at the store.
You found a way to tax the leftovers?
Well, maybe you should have finished your dinner.
You've created programs to exterminate all 50 state birds.
They eat my squirrel food, Bob.
And you've accidentally bombed Iceland.
They're dangerous folks. Cold. Very cold people.
Mr. President.
They call it Iceland because it's got a lot of ice. If it didn't, they'd call it something, maybe something like not a lot of ice. Land.
Your approval rating is, and this is unusual, somehow in the negative numbers.
Wow.
Not sure how that's possible.
Negative numbers?
Yepers.
I must be really popular.
Pardon?
Well, it's simple math, Bob. If I'm negatively not approved of, that equals people loving me lots. But that's how my financial advisor sees it anyway.
President Greg G. Moogley. We'll talk to President Moogley about his proposed legislation to outlaw pie after this commercial break.
What? Outlaw pie? What the... How could he... How would you... Well, I'll murder him.
Oh, what is this thing?
What? Oh, let me see. That's, it's just an old mind control device. Humph. Outlaw pie. Why, when I'm ruler of the world... Oh, who am I kidding?
Mind control device, eh? Hey, Doc, I have an idea. And while I explain this idea to Doc where you can't hear us, why don't you listen to a little OTR? This podcast is political in theme, and our first bit of OTR is an episode of Theater 5 called Congratulations, Mr. Mayor. Politics is generally pretty creepy for us, the voter. But here's at least one instance where it's far creepier for the candidate, especially if he wins. Listen now to Theater 5, Congratulations, Mr. Mayor.
In my town are different than most. The real loser is the man who wins. Theater 5 presents Congratulations, Mr. Mayor. With the mayor's endorsement backing you up, you can't miss. I already told you that.
If I'm that much of a favorite, why did I have to work so hard in the campaign?
Matter of sticking to the forms, boy. It's all a matter of sticking to the forms.
Hello, ceiling headquarters. Yes, just a moment, please. It's for you, Mr. Spring.
Oh, yeah. Spring speaking. It is? You sure? Well, that's even better than we'd hoped. Yes, I'll tell him. Let's have it quiet for a minute, boys and girls. Quiet, please. Please. That was Mike Clark over at the polls. Our candidate has pulled so far ahead that he can't possibly be caught anymore. It looks as if we've got ourselves a new mayor. Now, I do have to tell you that Derloff hasn't officially conceded yet, but if you remember last time when he was beaten by Mayor Weeder and the time before that when he was beaten by Phil Carson...
Poor Mr. Derloff, always a bridesmaid.
Yes. Well, anyone who remembers him 7 and 14 years ago knows that he's not exactly hasty to concede. So we'll just have to wait for him to come to his senses.
Sam, all of you, I just want to say, well, thanks.
Forget it, Grant.
Oh, no, but I don't want to forget it. Just 1 year ago, I was a stranger to this town. The way you all took me in made me one of you. Well, I just don't know what to say.
Well, then why try? We don't usually cozy up to strangers, Grant. But you made your mark in this town that first month when you helped to lead the drive to build the new hospital wing. Any man who could do that is no stranger.
Wait, but Sam...
Now, you listen to me for a minute. You just try to be the kind of mayor that Harry Weeder's been these past 7 years. Do that, and the town will be well rewarded.
I'll try.
Well,
congratulations, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Peggy. I want to talk to you later. There's something I have to ask you. Something I couldn't talk about before I knew how all this was going to turn out.
Yes, Grant.
I'm sure you can guess what I plan to ask. But I'd rather we were by ourselves than I actually ask it.
So would I. Look, here's an idea. Why not get completely away? Just as soon as we can get away, you can drive up to Farms Lake and we can be all by ourselves.
In the moonlight?
Yes, of course, in the moonlight.
Listen, you two, I don't like to interrupt anything, but I just saw the mayor and Mrs. Weeder pull up outside. Peggy, why don't you run downstairs and see if there's anything you can do?
Yes, sir.
Grant, I hope you don't mind my sending Peg away, but I wanted to speak to you about her for a few seconds.
What about her?
Nothing. Just that she'll make some man a pretty terrific wife.
You don't mince words, do you, Sam?
Never learned how.
I really don't see why I should tell you, you old fox. But I will. I plan to ask her to marry me later tonight.
Well, best wishes, boy. I mean that sincerely. Even if I will have the devil's own time finding me another secretary.
Hold on there. She hasn't said she'll have me yet.
Oh, she will, though. Take the old man's word for it. She will.
Ladies and gentlemen, quiet, please.
Yes, quiet.
Ladies and gentlemen, the mayor is here with something to tell us.
Thanks, Peg. This will just take a minute, friends. Alice, that is Mrs. Wheat and myself, just visited the Doloff headquarters at his invitation. He wanted me to deliver a note to Grant. I think we can all guess what's in it. Grant?
Thanks, Henry. This is it. It certainly is. Here's what he says. Congratulations on your victory, and all good wishes for a successful term as mayor. Thank you. I just want to tell everyone in this room how deeply moved I am tonight. It's customary, I suppose, on these occasions to say that the victory is not the candidates alone. Tonight, that rather trite sentiment is more than true. The victory is yours. All I can do is hope to make you proud of it.
That was a lovely speech, Grant.
Well said, boy. Let me add my best wishes.
And mine.
Harry, Alice. You know, without you two, I could never have done it.
Oh, nonsense. You're what this town needs. New blood. The town fathers knew what they were doing when they decided that a mayor should have a single 7-year term. This way, a man can finish what he starts, but he won't grow stale on the
Well,
job.
you haven't been growing stale, Harry.
Well, perhaps not yet, but the signs are there. Who can say how I'd be in a year or two?
Oh, come on.
No, Grant, you're the best thing that could have happened to us. That goes for me, too, boy.
And I'm bound to agree with my husband.
Well, thank you. I won't let you down.
No, of course you won't.
Look, why don't we have a victory drink together, huh? Judge Saunders is meeting Alice and me at the Brass Bowl in a few minutes. Why don't the three of you come along?
Yes, that's a splendid idea. Dad would love to see.
Well, Peg and I were going to drive out.
Grant, we'll have time for one drink.
All right, if you'd like to.
What about you, Sam? Oh, count me in. Then what are we waiting for? Let's get started right away.
Isn't it wonderful about Grant, Dad?
Well, it's good news, but we all knew he'd win. He had to.
He'll be a good mayor, won't he, Judge? I mean, he'll do a good job.
He'll do what he has to do. All of us do what we have to.
Hey, what is this? This is Grant's big day. Why is everyone so glum?
Who's glum? I'm sorry, Harry. I was just thinking about some personal problems.
Anything I can do, sir?
No, I can handle it.
All right, everyone. I propose a toast to Grant Seeley, the people's... Harry!
And Peggy.
And Peggy. May Grant's campaign to woo her be as successful as his campaign to woo the voters.
Oh, Harry.
Oh, I'll think of that.
Well, now it's my turn. To Harry. May my term in office be 1/2 as successful as his was. To Harry.
Well, now, Grant, my friend, you'd better take me away from all this.
All right.
Can I convince you to stay for one more toast?
Well, no, thanks. We'd really better be on our way.
Yes. Get along, you two.
You sound as if you want them to go.
Oh, no. Well, they'd much rather be alone. And anyway, we should be getting ourselves home soon. Today's a long, long day. Well, so long, all you wonderful people. Come along, darling.
Bye, all.
You had something to tell me, remember?
Bye.
Bye. Come on, Harry. It's time for us to leave, too.
All right. Not even boss in my own home. What man ever is?
Oh, now you men stop sympathizing with each other. Good night, Dad. Sam.
Good night. Good night, all. They're a nice couple.
Which one are you talking about?
Both. They're both nice couples.
Yes. It seems like such a rotten
It can't be helped, Judge. It has to be. Anyway, Grant has 7 good years to look forward to. 7 years as mayor. With Peg by his side if he wants her.
And Harry? And Alice?
Harry had his good years. As for Alice, she knew what she was getting into. So did you, Judge. Don't forget that.
How could I forget? Well, I suppose we'd better get ready.
Yes. Get the town ready.
Election night. How I dread election night.
But it comes anyway, Judge. It always comes. Perfect night.
What? Oh, yes, isn't it? Harry. Let's stay out here in the garden.
Well, I thought you were tired, Alice.
No, I'm not now.
All right, then. Neither am I.
What is it?
Oh, I was just thinking about Peggy and Grant. You know what? I'll bet he's taken her up to Farns Lake.
Well,
Don't you remember? That's where I took you when I won my election 7 years ago. I asked you to marry me that time. Remember?
yes, I remember.
And I'll bet that's just what he's doing. I'll bet he asked her to marry him when they're alone at Farns Lake.
Yes? Maybe he will.
You know, it's funny about Grant and me. I mean, so many things happened to us here in the same way. Both came here without knowing anyone. We both were elected mayor.
Well, people liked you.
Oh, it was more than that, Alice. We became overnight heroes. Grant was spearheading the drive to build the new hospital wing, and me because I saved that child.
That was a brave act, Harry.
Was it? I never could be sure. I just saw the boy there in the street. The car was heading for him, and I ran and shoved him out of the way. And suddenly, I was a town hero. And then a few months later, when Mayor Carson's term ran out, your father and Sam Spring and the mayor asked me to run for the office. Remember how I didn't want to at first?
Yes,
You were the one who convinced me.
I know I did.
See, that's funny. It happened that way with Grant, too. When the hospital fight made him a hero, Sam, your father, and I went to him. And you know, I think he would have turned us down until Peggy went to her son.
You make a good mayor, Harry. Just like you do.
Oh, there's got to be something wrong with him. If he didn't, this town practically runs itself. All the big problems of crime and drug addiction, things like that other places have to worry about just don't exist here. And whenever a problem does come itself to help.
Harry, you have been happy here, haven't you?
With you? Darling, of course.
No, I didn't mean that. I mean here. This town.
Darling, I told you how it was for me before I came here, didn't I? I was a drifter going from place to place. Oh, I always did well enough. I always made money, but I couldn't take root. I couldn't stay in one place.
I know.
It's empty in this part of the country, as you know. I remember driving here down that endless road that runs in from the east. Not a tree on it for 100 miles. You can't see a tree. And then, suddenly, there's this town. Everything green and white and freshly scrubbed. The children looked happy. There was peace on the faces of the people. Somehow I knew that this was where I was meant to be. That here was where I could finally stop drifting.
Oh, I wish you hadn't stopped.
What? Alice.
But you still have a chance. You do. Harry, get in your car and drive straight out of town. They'll follow you, but you have a head start. If you just leave now and drive fast, I can delay them, so they'll never catch up until you're far enough away. Until you're in some other town where they won't dare hurt you. Where they won't...
Joke, Alice? What?
Joke? Of all the things in the world, it's not a joke. Oh, I love you, Harry. I just found it out. I really love you. Oh, it's too late.
Oh, it's only your father and Sam Spring and Chief of Police Wills with them, but what's wrong, honey? Tell me, what's wrong? Well, honey, just, Saunders, I'm glad to see you. Something's happened to Alice. She's suddenly hysterical. I don't know why.
Yes, I know. We were afraid of this.
What's the matter with her?
You, Harry.
I don't understand.
Of course you don't. She does, though. She knew from the beginning.
What are you trying to say?
Your term of office, boy.
It's all over.
I know that. Grant's the new mayor. Alice and I just congratulated him this evening, remember?
It's not as simple as that, Harry. I only wish it were.
What's not as simple?
Oh, Dad, let's go on torturing you this way. Can't you come right out and say you're going to
Now, take it easy, girl. Your father knows what he's doing.
There must be a certain ritual in these cases. A certain decorum.
Will somebody please tell me what...
Have you ever wondered what happened to your predecessor in office?
Well, he died, didn't he, from a heart attack?
Not from a heart attack, Harry. We killed him.
You... what?
We sacrificed him. Myself, Sam, the chief here. All the good citizens of town.
All the people?
Everyone over the age of 15. Doc believes that it might do the younger children more harm than good.
Good? Are we talking about the same thing? This is murder.
We know what it is.
Why, though? Can you tell me that?
Why? Have you ever wondered why this is such a nice town? Why there's no real crime problem? Why husbands don't beat their wives and wives remain faithful? Why there is no alcoholism and even teenage violence is rare?
You trying to say that murder is ever
a
just...
single scapegoat every 7 years. The sacrifice of one man who can help release the violence every one of us keeps hidden and controlled for the 2,625 days or more between elections. And who could do this better than the personification of the town? Its elected representative, its leader.
Father, stop it. It's wrong. You know it is.
Wrong, girl? Can you say how many murders we prevent? How many acts of brutality this one occurrence takes the place?
Wait a minute. Oh, I see it now. That's why I was picked. None of your good citizens would sacrifice themselves. It had to be a stranger like myself or Grant. Someone who'd fall in love with a town and convince themselves that it fell in love with him.
Harry.
What a sucker I was. You chose me for a hero, didn't you? That child I saved, was that a put-up job, too?
You were a ruthless man, Harry. We gave you.
And Alice, was she part of it? She wasn't she?
Harry, I love you. You must know that now.
You were supposed to convince me to take the job and marry me to see that I stayed my term. Well, you did a great job, honey, a real great job.
Please, don't.
You even kept me away while they were killing poor Carson.
Take it easy, boy. It wasn't Alice's fault. She's had a rough time.
Oh, yes, I feel sorry for her.
She had her duty. A duty to her town.
Is that what Peggy's doing tonight? Is she luring Grant away so that he won't know what's happening to me? Is she saying, yes, she'll marry him tonight so that she can see him killed 7 years from now?
She's doing what she has to do.
Judge.
I know. Harry, I'm sorry, but it's time. By the power invested in me by the town council,
No!
I sentence you to be taken down to the old pit in the southwest corner of town, where you shall be bound and rendered helpless, and where each of your fellow townsmen and townswomen who are at least 16 years of age and physically capable will hurl a single stone at you.
No, don't.
Until your bones be broken, your head be crushed, and your body be lashed.
Let him go.
All right, Chief, take him now.
Chief, we're friends. Don't let them take him.
Come,
I can. Everyone must be a part of this. You know that. Peggy's the only exception, as you were 7 years ago.
It's your duty, darling. You must finish what you started then. You must cast the first stone.
First stone. Yes. I'm coming.
Oh, it's just lovely to be up here at the lake, in the moonlight, with the girl you're going to marry.
Well, give me a kiss to prove
Oh,
it.
Peggy.
Oh, Grant. That was nice. Oh, what are you doing?
Just tossing some stones into the lake.
Don't.
Why?
No, just... Please don't, Grant. For me. You might hit something. hurt it.
I didn't know you were so tender-hearted. But don't worry, darling. I'll never throw another stone as long as I live. And with a wife like you to take care of me, I have a feeling that'll be a very long time. But darling, what's wrong? You're shivering.
Don't talk, Grant. Just hold me.
Okay, the mind control device is patched into the PA, and I've distributed the Vote for Dr. Despicable for World Dictator signs.
Excellent.
You're on, Doc. Good luck.
Oh, like I'll need it. Fellow inhabitants of the Earth, you've had a man too stupid to say nuclear correctly running the United States. You have all these terrorists and dictators causing a rumpus over the whole world, and do they answer to anyone? Well, of course not. They don't even have a proper grasp of science. It's chaos, I tell you, chaos! What you need is a benevolent world dictator, like myself, to keep these terrorists and dictators in check, and to control everyone on Earth, so there's absolutely nothing to worry about. No more starving third world countries. I'll make sure there's a pie factory in every state. War? Pish-tosh. If somebody misbehaves, I'll stamp them out like a wet cigarette butt. No more problem. If you need anything, I'll be there to give it to you, so long as you're paying me the proper respect and worshipping me publicly as demanded. Can people be trusted to control their own lives? No, they can't. Are people smart enough to elect a competent mayor, governor, or president? Clearly they're not. Can you really win a war on terror by making everyone in the Middle East mad at the United States? Don't be absurd. That's like poking a beehive with a stupid stick. There's only one solution. Vote for me, Dr. Despicable, for world dictator, and I'll do all your thinking for you. Oh, and I can say nuclear.
Vote Dr. Despicable. Vote Dr. Despicable. Vote Dr. Despicable.
See? See?
Yes, indeed. This is a great plan. I'm so pleased I thought of it.
Oh, Doc, come on.
I'm the Snarky Avenger. I'm a superhero. I don't get this. I'm a superhero. Why won't they let me debate with that hack, Greg Moogly? It's not fair. I don't understand. I managed to get on enough states' ballots. I have enough cash to bankroll my campaign thanks to my secret identity as a software developer, and I'm wearing a super cool wrestling mask. I mean, Moogly hasn't protected America's rights to eat donuts, good donuts, safe donuts. And who can better protect this country than an invincible superhero? I'm invincible, doggone it. What are those candidates going to do when the bugbears attack Washington? Oh, my aching head. I need a stiff drink. Snark 9000, fix me a Shirley Temple, and don't get stingy with the grenadine.
Go ahead, Snarky Avenger.
Make me a Shirley Temple.
No.
Why not?
I'm watching The View.
The View? You're watching The View?
I love this show.
Elizabeth Hasselbeck won't save you from the bugbears, you ungrateful computer.
Whatever.
I need to do something to make people take me seriously as a presidential candidate.
President Greg G. Moogly is asking the American people to vote for him a second time. 4 more years of the same ideas. Ideas like blowing up Iceland, building an army of squirrels to defend the country, outlawing pie. Seriously, what the f***?
Future minions, idiocy is like body hair. People generally have far too much of it. It's time to give this country a Brazilian. Any society that would vote for an idiot like Greg Moogly is obviously too stupid to think for itself. So let me do your thinking for you. I mean, thinking is hard. It takes up valuable time most idiots like yourselves would rather spend on talking about reality television, doing Sudoku puzzles incorrectly, drinking offensive things on a bet, looking at naked people on the internet while eating spicy snack foods, TiVoing daytime TV, as well as countless other idiotic activities. I spend all my time thinking anyway, so allow me to assist you with something you are obviously not suited for. Vote for me, Dr. Despicable, for American Dictator. I approve this message.
Dr. Disinfectant, eh? Why, he's nothing but a terrorist. Say, if I take down someone that dangerous, the voting public would take me seriously. I'd be a shoo-in for the presidency. Snark 9000, ready the Snark Jet for takeoff.
Now, looky here, Greg. This despicable feller's gonna pose us a serious problem. How do I know? I looked him up on the Wikipedia. How does anybody learn anything these days? Oh, the Wikipedia. On the internets. Well, you pull up a browser window on your computer. Oh, Greg, that's not a computer. That's a Foreman grill. Never mind that right now. Just listen to me. This despicable character is a terrorist, Greg, a gall-darn terrorist living right here in the United States. He's got a death ray and everything. No, Greg, that don't mean we can bob Iran. Just listen to me. You're slipping in the polls, right? And slipping is a polite term for taking the express elevator into heck itself. If you could take out this despicable character, oh, you'd be a shoo-in for president again. That's right. Greg, you want to be president, we gotta kill Dr. Despicable. I think that was the most successful rally yet.
Well, it's difficult to have a bad rally when you're using that mind control device. Ooh, let me just unhook this from the PA. Wait a second. Hey, Doc.
Yes?
The mind control device isn't working.
It must have broken right after the rally. I'll take a look at it later.
No, Doc, you don't understand. It's not even warm. It couldn't have been working during the rally either.
But that means...
It means the crowd really supports you.
Ooh, they like me. They really like me.
Okay, that's enough of that. I think it's about time for our next bit of OTR. Our next bit of political OTR comes from Crisis. To be the perfect political candidate, you'd have to be the perfect man. To be the perfect man would take something mighty unnatural. Listen now to Crisis, the perfect man.
Sooner or later, when you least expect it, there comes a point of no return, a dead end from which there seems no escape, a moment in time, a moment of crisis. What is about to happen to Floyd Steiner is a particularly American situation, one which would warm the heart of Horatio Alger. For what is about to happen to tall, ingenuous Floyd Steiner is living proof that virtue is its own reward. Young Steiner is about to be catapulted from obscurity to fame, from impotence to power, and all because of the insatiable hunger of politics for a perfect candidate. That Floyd Steiner could become that candidate is the essence of the democratic experience. But to say that it's all because Steiner is a typical American boy would be to understate the case. As you will see when we begin our tale of suspense, The Perfect Man, right after this. And now, John Amendola stars in Fred Sanchez's offbeat thriller, The Perfect Man. The room is appropriately filled with smoke. The men are political kingmakers, the local leaders of what has become a very embarrassed political party.
Dismayed by the daily revelations of wrongdoing by big-name party members, the search is on for a candidate for governor, a candidate who will survive the most microscopic examination, a candidate whose past contains not one whisper of scandal, not a pinch of impropriety.
And I say there isn't any such guy.
Yeah, there is somewhere.
Who says it has to be a guy?
Now, just pipe down, Amy.
Somewhere in the computer there's a name. Gotta be.
Of a guy who's never been on the take, never made an unpopular move? And the guy you're looking for can also walk on water.
Who says it has to be a guy?
Pipe down, Amy.
You're all living in the past. This state is ready for a woman governor.
Well, I'm not ready for a woman governor.
All right. Now listen, everybody. We've been holed up in this room for 5 hours, and we got exactly 4 names. Trumbull, which Billingsley likes.
Has been a very savvy representative, and from a very important district.
Whose brother is doing a very long term in Nevada for embezzlement.
And there's Jane Agagenian, who Ms. Scattergood here likes, only her husband is divorcing her, and his car rental business is getting the fisheye from the Internal Revenue, though she's out.
Well, your man Pettigrew isn't so lily white either.
No, he's a black, which makes him a very interesting character to begin with. We already got 4 black governors in the country. It's a trend.
Only your man Pettigrew can't be controlled. He talks to anyone. He's got a vocabulary that'd make a sailor blush, as the old song goes.
Now, we can't use Pettigrew.
Well, we certainly can't run that guy Ibby. He lives.
I thought you were all for the libbers.
Women's lib.
No, the state's not ready for a gay gov either.
Well, then, now where are we?
All right, we're right back where we started. Look, we need a candidate with an image of honesty, vigor,
fairness, liberal.
Not conservative, law and order.
Like
police.
I said, such a guy don't exist.
I said that.
Well, you were right.
Wait a minute, Drum.
What?
Wait a minute. What is it everybody's interested in now?
Getting 2 more miles to the gallon.
No. I mean, what is it everyone's demanding?
More for their money?
Exactly. It's a consumer's revolt all over the country. People are picketing shops that won't make good on their promises, writing letters to their congressmen when they think they've been ripped off. It's the day of the consumer advocate.
Ralph Nader don't happen to live in our state.
No. Wait. Are you thinking of the guy I'm thinking of? The young lobbyist from upstate. The guy who keeps bugging us to write laws about fair trade practices.
Right on, brother.
Wait a minute. Break it off. You mean that pimply-faced string bean, Steiner? Ralph Steiner?
Floyd Steiner.
Well, Ralph Floyd.
Well, what do you think?
Well, let's check him out.
Yeah, God knows he gets enough attention.
The people love him.
No. Never. He'll never work. He's a bachelor.
So what?
No bachelor has ever been elected governor of this state.
That doesn't make any difference. If Steiner checks out...
If he'll take direction.
If he's clean. But I mean really clean.
If he's never been in politics, he could be our boy.
Yeah, you're not going to believe this.
Well, it better be good. You pulled me away from a caucus that really needs me.
I canceled an interview with Jack Anderson's right-hand man.
Listen. 2 weeks ago in this very same lousy room, we had 4 names nobody liked. Then we all agreed on one guy we could live with. If he checked out clean, right? Well, I've had my boys run a check on this guy, Steiner, that makes the FBI look like Orphan Annie.
And what did you find out?
Ask me.
All right. Politics?
Leans in our direction. Campaigned for no one. Voted in every election since he was like 21.
How old is he?
28.
Oh.
Look, Floyd Steiner is an orphan. Folks lived in South Dakota. Both died when he was a kid. He was an A student in school, worked his way through 2 years of college in some little jerkwater school in Nebraska, worked on a farm, helped organize something called the Future Farmers of America chapter, then served as a substitute den mother for the Cub Scouts. Came to this state, passed the state board, started teaching physical education upstate in some little jerkwater town, I don't know which, doesn't matter. What does matter is, Steiner helped save a guy whose house was on fire, got written up in some little backwoods country weekly, got a trip down here to the Capitol, got interested in politics, then he began lobbying for consumer protection laws. You know the rest.
Okay. Now, what about his private life?
Clean as a whistle. Drives a 56 Chevy, don't owe a dime, rents a room right here in the Capitol, don't ever have any lady visitors or anyone else, eats in a cafeteria, and upstate the kids love him.
Any love life?
I'm coming to that. There's a teacher in that school where he's the coach, but it's all out in the open. Movies, walks in the park, ice cream, you know.
He's unreal.
Unreal. Listen, he's a breath of fresh air. He's so innocent and earnest, he's gonna make every politician look like bubonic plague. He's fresh, keen-minded, got real talent.
But, will he run for governor?
Why don't we ask him? He's been waiting outside for 15 minutes.
The search for an antiseptic candidate for governor has narrowed down to one possibility. Floyd Steiner, a candidate with nothing to live down, a young man with impeccable credentials, a young man about to meet the party's kingmakers.
Come on in, Mr. Steiner. Come in.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Trump.
Mr. Steiner, I have the pleasure now to present Miss Amy Scattergood, representative of our state's 16th district.
Hello, Steiner.
How do you do, Miss Scattergood?
And C. Bancroft Billingsley, the well-known realtor and one of the major driving forces in our party.
Well, I'm glad to know you, Steiner. Oh, I take it you already know Senator Drum here.
No. Only from his voting record.
Yeah.
I got you there, Ross.
Look, I'll come to the point. Ralph. Can I call you Ralph?
My name is Floyd.
Floyd. Floyd, of course. I keep calling you Ralph because you remind me of Ralph Nader.
Whom I admire very much, by the way.
Well, anyway, look, Ralph, I think you know as well as I do that there's a crisis of confidence in the party.
All right, the scandals, the mysterious goings-on everywhere.
Spending and taxes.
What this state needs is a governor that people can trust.
Somebody who'll gain bipartisan support.
A courageous man who's not afraid to take radical steps to remedy our problems.
But a man who's firm on law and order, no-nonsense kind of guy.
And most of all, a candidate who hasn't got a closet full of skeletons.
Well, I agree that the party needs such a man. Now, just how can I help you?
Steiner, how would you like to be governor?
Me? Governor?
The thought never occurred to you?
Governor? Why, no. I never thought about it for an instant. Hey, I'm just a small-town school coach.
With good old-fashioned ideas about fair play. Principles. That's what we need.
What do you say, Steiner?
Well, if you're serious, I don't know. I'd have to think about it. Boy, I'd have to do a lot of thinking about it. Well, it'd mean campaigning all over the state. The school board wouldn't like me to be away that much.
Are you kidding, Steiner? Look, the school board would be tickled to death if you ran for governor. You can't lose. Look, you either wind up as governor or you go back to coaching kids in some little jerkwater school and you're the town hero for life.
Well, I don't consider Beverly Falls a jerkwater town, Senator.
Oh, I don't for a minute mean that Beverly Falls isn't a fine, important community, Ralph, but it's just...
Floyd! Can't you remember a name, Roscoe? It's almost dinner time, Mr. Steiner. Is it against your principles to have dinner with an unmarried person, a female? We could go Dutch. You eat here every night?
Every night I'm in the Capitol.
Why?
Well, it's only 2 blocks from the legislature building and 4 blocks from the room I rent. And did you notice?
What?
No parking meters on the street.
Yeah, we did overlook this street, didn't we? Look, Floyd. Politics is a big boy's game. Fair warning, okay?
Well, you're in it. And you're certainly not very big. Or a boy.
Well, you noticed.
Well, you're trying to warn me that a nice guy can't get corrupted, right?
Yes.
I've learned enough watching the legislature in action. I know what I'd be getting into.
You're sort of savoring the idea of being a candidate, aren't you?
I can't say. I can't say until I get some advice.
Oh, from who?
My uncle.
Uncle? Is he in politics?
Oh, no. But I check lots of things with him. He's just about the smartest uncle a guy ever had.
So when do you see him?
Oh, I'll be in touch with him. Hey, say, listen. I'm going to be driving all night if I don't start back now. Don't ever go over 45, you know. Thanks for your company, Miss Scattergood.
Hey, make it Amy.
All right, Amy. And I'll let you know. Soon. Hello?
Hello, Floyd. It's your uncle.
Oh, hi. I was sort of hoping to talk to you.
You got some big news today, didn't you?
Boy, I'll say I did. They've asked me...
Well, run for governor, eh? Very flattering, isn't it?
Well, yes, it is. I'll have to admit it.
Floyd, I want you to listen to me. You must not run for any office. Being the coach is just right for you. Just right.
Well, the only thing is, this state's in a heck of a mess. I mean, nobody really trusts the governor now, and they need a man they can really depend on. I think I might be able to do a good job. At least I'd be honest.
Floyd, it's not for you. You stay right where you are, in Beverly Falls.
You really think so?
I certainly do.
Oh,
You sound disappointed. You really oughtn't to be.
But I had this feeling that, well, maybe this is what I was cut out to be. Governor.
You have no room for vanity or pride, Floyd. Believe me, you weren't cut out to be anything more than an athletic coach at a little school.
I don't know. I'll have to think about it.
That would be a mistake.
Oh, just let me do some thinking on my own. I'll talk to you later, Uncle. Good night. Oh, God, there's a lousy headache again. Why does he do that to me? Any time I displease him, I get a headache. Oh, it must be my conscience. Hello?
Good morning, Floyd.
What's good about it? I couldn't sleep a wink with this headache.
Sorry about that, my boy. I'm calling to see if you've changed your mind about that foolishness we were talking about last night.
No, I haven't. Oh! This headache started up again.
If you'd listen to reason.
No. The more I think about it, the more strongly I feel.
There you go, Floyd. Feel. You can't make judgments on what you feel. Use your intelligence, Floyd. What do you think you have in your head?
Right now, all I've got in my head is an awful pain. Goodbye, Uncle. Oh!
Floyd, what's wrong? Why are you holding your head?
Oh, it's nothing. It's just a headache. I seem to be getting them more and more these days.
Now, it's just the pressure. Hey, why don't you have a highball? It would relax you.
Oh, no thanks.
Well, a glass of wine, then?
No, I don't touch alcohol.
Well, what do you do to take the pressure off?
Nothing. Oh, I go for a walk now and then, but...
With your lady friend, the teacher?
Oh? How do you know about her?
Floyd, Roscoe Drum has investigated you. He's really checked you out.
He has?
Well, you don't suppose we just nominate our governors because they're tall, dark, and handsome.
You've checked up on my background?
Oh, I'll say.
Well, I guess you'd have to, like you say.
You're unreal.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, you're clean. They couldn't find a trace of a bribe or a dishonest deal. Why, you haven't even got a parking ticket.
That's right.
And you don't drink?
Or smoke.
Oh, you're fantastic. Hey, Floyd, do you know that woman?
Who?
The cashier in the cafeteria. She's motioning to you.
Hmm? Oh, I must have a phone call. Excuse me a minute, Amy.
Oh, sure.
Hello?
Hello, Floyd.
Oh, hi, Uncle.
I've been concerned about you.
Oh, don't be.
How's your headache?
Miserable.
Well, you know, my boy, it's the sort of life you're leading. You know, I warned you when you first began meddling in consumer affairs. It's not for you.
I had to do it, Uncle. Used car dealers advertising cars at a price you couldn't buy. Cheap tricks like that.
None of your affair, Floyd. Now, I must insist that you withdraw from any consideration about entering politics. I mean it.
I know you mean it.
Oh, my head. It's the pressure you're under. Now, go on back to Beverly Falls.
Uncle, I may be crazy, but I think this state needs me. By golly, I do. And I've gone this far. I'm not going to back down now. Goodbye, Uncle. Sorry, Amy.
Not bad news, I hope.
No. In fact, It helped me make a very important decision.
Well, sit down and tell me.
Amy, I'll run. If you think the people want me, I'll run for governor.
I tell you, pal, my instincts never failed me. You know what this state is doing tonight in this election is voting in a real flesh and blood hero. A breath of fresh air. You know, there's no telling what lies in store for Steiner after this U.S. Senator. And from there, you know what I'm thinking? Just a minute. Oh, Billingsley.
I never saw anything like it. You know, this may be the largest plurality any candidate's ever gotten in a gubernatorial election. Hey, where's our candidate anyway?
Oh, he's gone into the next room to lie down for a few minutes. Got a headache. You know, all the excitement and everything.
Amy, go on in and see if he wants to come on out for some pictures. You know, the wire service guys will be here in just a minute.
Yeah, okay, I'll do that. Floyd? Hey, Floyd, are you feeling any better? All right if I turn the light on? Floyd? Floyd! Hey, Roscoe, Billingsley.
Hey, what's the matter in there? Anything wrong with Floyd?
He isn't there.
Well, he's got to be there.
Well, you go see for yourself. There's nobody in that room.
Miles away from the hot, smoky election headquarters, a taxi glides to a stop, and a figure emerges into the chilly night air. The taxi drives off, and the figure walks to a lonely telephone booth beside a large vacant field where a building has been torn down.
Hello?
Floyd, you made good time. How are you?
My head's about to explode.
Yes, but we're going to fix all that. The election's going well, isn't it?
I was winning.
Yes, indeed. You know, in a way, I'm proud of you. Of course, you're nothing more than what we made you, only you seem to forget that.
I wanted to forget.
You seem to forget that we sent you there to your humble little job in Beverly Falls for a very specific mission. Not to take on airs and get mixed up in politics.
But I could have been good for this state. The people deserve something better than they've been getting.
There you go, Floyd. Opinions again. Judgments. You've somehow forgotten it's not for you to decide what the citizens of the state deserve. Do you think they deserve a governor with a fabricated past? A completely false history?
No, I guess not.
You had such a simple assignment. To become a physical education instructor in a small-town school. But you broke the cardinal rule. You elaborated, you improvised, you became emotionally involved. And all you were assigned to do was observe and report. Observe and report.
But Beverly Falls, population 900, chief industry, logging. I was cut out for something more than that.
Not enough of a challenge, eh? Well, now, after restructuring, you'll be given another assignment.
Restructuring?
Certainly. You're too valuable to be just scrapped.
Well, I should hope so. I do wish this headache would go away.
Oh, my error. There. Better?
Oh, thank you, Uncle.
Fine.
Thank you.
Now, stay right in that phone booth. I'll have you picked up.
I will. You know, Uncle, I still think I'd have been a good governor. They thought I was the perfect man for the job.
Well, you were cut out to be perfect. Honest, vigorous, fair, law-abiding. But really, Floyd, you know that the Federation doesn't want to meddle in these sub-civilizations. We only study them. I'd hate to have to explain to my superiors why I permitted a Sigma-10 robot to become the governor of a state.
All animation ceases in the figure in the lonely phone booth. The jawline sets, the lips relax. The finely tuned mechanism silently shuts down. All that is left of Governor-elect Floyd Steiner is the fading gleam of lifelike fluid in the plastic eyes, dwindling now to a barely perceptible spark. Which raises the question, does the Federation know that a Sigma-10 robot can dream? And if it dreams, can it dream of glory?
Greetings, this is Taliesin TTLG invading the frequency of fear, looking at politics and vampires. I was reminded when I looked at this subject of the rather famous illustration of George W. Bush as a vampire, biting the neck of the Statue of Liberty. This wasn't just a satire of the man, but of all politicians. There's been a socio-political element to the vampire genre, and a simile of the vampire as the landed class, sucking the life out of the common man, since the earliest literary vampires appeared, certainly with regards to the English written ones. Lord Riven, in Polidori's The Vampire, was a lord, as the title indicates, and was also a rather unsubtle sideswipe at Lord Byron. Whether Sir Francis Varney, the vampire in The Penny Dreadful, or Varney the Vampire, was actually a knight of the realm is debatable. His origins changed as the tale progressed. If not, however, he certainly realised that being seen to be a member of the landed classes, and rich to boot, opened many a door that would otherwise be closed. Carmilla was, in actuality, Mia Carla, Countess Karnstein, yet again a member of the aristocracy. Bram Stoker's seminal Dracula was, as a subtext, a book that warned about the infringement of foreign influence on Victorian England. But that foreign influence was a count, and the real-life persona, whose name he borrowed for the book, was a prince. As an aside, the kids series from 1990 and 91, Dracula the series, puts the following words in Dracula's mouth when he contemplates government corruption. Democracy, the worst political system in the world, except for all the others. One of the most political vampire films, indeed series of films, is so despite the fact that I don't believe they were trying to be so. I'm referring to Underworld. Within the struggle between the Lycans and the vampires, we have the struggle between the proletariat and the bourgeoisie. The Lycans, living in the dank sewers beneath an East European city, earthy and striving for equality or even power, are the proletariat. Equally, the vampires in their coven, which resembles a scene from the Ultravox video for the hit single Vienna, are the decadent ruling bourgeois. A mix really of the landed class, the three rulers of the vampires, and the actual bourgeois, the ordinary vampires. Indeed, after the enslaved Lycans tried to gain equality by Lucian and Sonia falling in love and interbreeding, and then rebelling against the vampire masters, the vampires created the Death Dealers to indulge in what amounted to a eugenics-orientated genocide of the Lycans. Wow. All that was rather heavy. It shouldn't take away from the films, after all, as I mentioned, I don't think the subtext of the Underworld films was deliberate. It was, if anything, very subconscious. Rather, they are action films with fun set pieces, Kate Beckinsale in tight rubber clothes, and one of the poorest mainstream performances of a vampire delivered by Shane Brolly. Next time I invade the frequency of fear, I expect that we will be back to B-movies and exploitation with, if we are lucky, a couple of masked Mexican wrestlers. However, until then, for more information on these and many more vampire movies and books, visit Taliesin Meets the Vampires at taliesinTTLG.blogspot.com. Alternatively, find the link in the links of the Zombie Astronaut.
Good morning, afternoon, or evening. This is Bob Wolfenbridgen with the coverage of the 2008 election. While President Greg G. Moogley wrestles for voters, but not literally, because that would be weird and uncomfortable for everybody, a new face in politics has appeared and is really shaking up the presidential race. Dr. Despicable, the first nominee ever for American dictator, is gaining credibility with voters everywhere and could really upset the United States presidential race with campaign ads like this.
Deciding on a candidate for President of the United States will undoubtedly require making a decision. Making decisions is hard, especially for people as stupid as the American public. Seriously, you broke a sweat thinking about who should be the next American Idol. Who should be America's next top model? Who deserves to get voted off the island? Make your last difficult decision. Choose Dr. Despicable for primary decision maker and American dictator. Let the obvious candidate make your decisions for you.
I am Dr. Despicable, and I approve this message because I have more than enough brains for everyone.
Paid for by Dr. Despicable.
We sent correspondent Randy Towerhausen out to ask voters what makes Dr. Despicable a viable option.
So, what makes Dr. Despicable an attractive option for you?
I hate thinking. Thinking gave my grandma brain tumors, and I don't want a brain tumor. This guy's got so much brains. Is that correct? Should it be so much brains or so many brains? I think he only has one brain, so it's probably the first one. Do you see what I mean? If Dr. Despicable is America's next top dictator, I don't have to think so many.
So did you vote for President Mowgli?
Yep.
Will you be voting for Dr. Despicable this election?
Yep.
Do you think a dictator instead of a president is the best option for the United States?
Yep.
How many fingers am I holding up?
Yep.
So why do you support Dr. Despicable?
I like pie, man. I really like pie. The president wants to outlaw pie, man. I can't have it. I can't.
Well, do you...
I gotta have pie, man. Don't you understand?
So who are you voting for?
I'm voting for the Snarky Avenger and General Hagenkraut in 2008.
What about the Snarky Avenger makes him a good candidate for president?
It's about time we had a superhero for president. Who can better protect this country? And Americans need easy access to safe and tasty donuts. What other candidate is protecting America's rights to safe and tasty donuts? Not President Mowgli or that Dr. Detestable creep.
Just out of curiosity, why are you wearing a wrestling mask?
Well,
You're the Snarky Avenger, aren't you?
Yes.
And there you have it, Bob. The people resoundingly support mad scientist Dr. Despicable, and this Snarky Avenger will be voting for himself.
No surprise there, Randy.
Nope, not really.
Thanks, Randy. Now we go live to a press conference being held by Dr. Despicable outside Castle Despicable.
9 times. Once in darkest Peru, after 3 days on 5 peyote buttons. Oh, is it 5 days on 3 peyote buttons? Well, never mind. Next question.
Dr. Despicable.
You, sir.
Dr. Despicable, how many houses do you own?
After I'm elected, all of them. Next question.
Dr. Despicable.
You, sir.
President Mowgli's campaign advisor suggested President Mowgli invented the BlackBerry, but you refute that, saying it was actually you who invented the BlackBerry. Care to comment?
It's true. I invented not just the BlackBerry, but also the raspberry, and the mysterious, all-powerful lingonberry. If the lingonberry doesn't convince the world of my genius, honestly, nothing will. Next question. Ah! What the deuce was that? Who threw this donut at me?
That was a donut of justice. Just a taste of the righteous donut-fueled justice you can expect from the Snarky Avenger. Steve, the man with the bionic extension.
Hi there.
Bruce Ann.
Hi! Hi-ya! Ha! Karate!
Your campaign for American dictator ends here.
Oh, the horror. Please spare me. Your Mexican wrestling outfit is so terrifying. Watch where you're swinging that bionic appendage you bought, Rube.
Fear my sugary wrath?
Have you quite finished?
You don't seem terribly troubled to be surrounded by a net of super justice.
Zombie, unleash the man-sized, cybernetically augmented zombie penguins.
I'm on it.
Not more man-sized, cybernetically augmented zombie penguins. Ow! Darn it, I hate these things. Ow! Steve! Bruce Ann! Where are you going? Come back!
Feel free to say it.
You may have defeated me this time.
Ah, there it is.
Do you mind? You may have defeated me. Ow! You may have defeated me this time, but I'll be back. I defeated these man-sized, cybernetically augmented penguins before, and I can do it again. Ow! I'm out of here.
Excellent. Where did you get those things anyway?
Oh, I stole them from his supposedly diabolical twin brother. Diabolical indeed. I snuck up on him and whacked him with a croquet mallet. Can you believe that? What the? Who is bombing Castle Despicable? This here's General Tanhammer, President Greg G. Woogley's campaign manager. We ain't gonna allow no terrorists to run for office in this great USA ours. We're gonna destroy Castle Despicable, and my chartreuse ops squad is gonna gun you and your campaign manager down on live TV. Prepare to meet your maker. You mean Mother Despicable? Oh, I don't have time for this. Release the Flying Teen Monkey Squad. Oh, shoot. Where in the sand head did these flying monkeys come from? Your turn, General. You may have defeated us this time, Dr. Despicable. Ah, there it is. Do you mind? Oh, forget it. We'll be back to kick your butt later. Chartreuse ops. Seriously, how could I be defeated by chartreuse anything?
Okay, Doc, you've definitely displayed your ability to show great force. Now, if you can demonstrate you can connect with the middle class, the average Joe six-pack, if you will, this election is in the bag.
The average Joe, eh? Zombie, find me a Joe.
Well, I go find Doc a Joe. Why don't you listen to our last bit of OTR? This is a selection from the series Mind Webs. Listen now to the Mind Webs episode, The Run.
Welcome to a half hour of Mind Webs. Short stories from the worlds of speculative fiction. This is Michael Hansen with a Mind Web story that comes from the collection edited by Judith Merrill, England Swings SF Stories of Speculative Fiction. This is The Run by Chris Priest. As he left the base, Senator Robbins heard the alarm begin its screaming warning. For most of the morning, he'd toured the base. With the Pan-Asians agitating and an election due, he couldn't afford to substantiate his anti-pacifistic claims with anything less than a well-publicized tour. Behind his car, he could see the vid crews piling their equipment into their transports. He drove at a leisurely pace towards the main gate and its attendant barrage of security checks. These days, driving was the only way he could relax. He scorned the idea of a chauffeur. The security was suspiciously officious. He'd half expected them to let him through with the most cursory of examinations, but they insisted on a complete check-over of his identifications. These fact-finding tours stirred up the military after all. As he left the security lodge and approached the main gates, the last of the rockets fired. And that was something he'd investigated today. The constant total readiness practices cost more than they were perhaps worth. He made a mental note to get his secretary to prepare a report. The rocket was the usual manned sort, a sliver of dusty metal scarcely visible in the overcast. It disappeared quickly, its afterglow illuminating a small patch of the clouds.
Through the thick plastic of his car's body, Robbins could feel the sonic throb of the rocket's huge motors. He turned out of the base onto the gray slip road that led to the major freeway. As his car accelerated silently along the aluminum strip, another flight of rockets, presumably from some other nearby base, swept overhead. They were flying low these days, the new defense pattern he'd been told about. A wash of noise seemed to make his car shake on its plates. He closed the windows and turned the air conditioner full up. He came eventually to the freeway and followed the filter strip onto its width. It looked like a photograph Robbins had seen once of one of the old railway marshalling yards. Tracks crossed and recrossed, merged and divided. He filtered until he was in the medium-fast lane and pushed the speed up to the maximum allowed. He leaned forward against the restraint of his safety webbing and raised his secretary on the call kit. Anderson, Robbins here. His secretary's voice came through, sounding strained.
Boss, get back in here as quick as you can. Big trouble.
What is it? What's going on? Can you tell me over the line?
Code E, boss. Code E.
The kit went dead. His secretary had switched off. He made to recall him and then stopped. Anderson never acted like that unless something was seriously wrong. He'd worked out a private series with Anderson when the trouble with the Pan-Asians had first blown up. Code E was national scale. That was all. He drove on, his mind working hard. Overhead, another low flight of silver rockets added weight to his forebodings. 5 kilometers up the freeway, Robbins took another filter strip and followed it as it wound into a minor sidetrack. His speed dropped away, compensating for the sharper bends he'd encountered. He caught a glimpse of the Sessions Hall, a bleak modern building soaring into the sky over the surrounding forest. Decentralized government seemed fruitless when housed in a building as prominent as that, or perhaps there was something more subtle about it, something he hadn't realized. The track began to climb a little, and the trees became thicker along its side. Very soon he came to the junction, a single track dipping down through the trees, losing itself between wooded banks. He approached the turning carefully, waiting for the signal to flash green. The pull barrier raised itself automatically and his car slipped through. He switched off the identifying beam and behind him the pole dropped back into place. He accelerated quickly, impatient to get back to his office. Anderson's cryptic message meant war at worst, crisis at best. Either way, he needed to be at hand. The government's foreign policy, in Robbins' opinion, was flaccid. It listened to public opinion too much and varied with the currency of popular ideals. The pacifists had had their way now for 7 years, allowing the Pan-Asians to infiltrate every civilized country they bordered on. The time had come to show a little strength, pull a few triggers, push a few buttons. They'd give way soon enough, shown a few strong-arm tactics. Robbins found he'd unconsciously pushed his speed too far, and he let it drop away a little. This was low-speed strip, not stressed for fast cornering. Ahead of him, the aluminum track wound over the undulating countryside. About 2 kilometers ahead, it disappeared around the sharp turn at Packer's Mill. A movement caught his eye. He saw a human figure for a brief moment disappearing behind one of the many trees. He looked again at the spot, then saw the youth. He was a thin fellow, dressed in a drab gray coverall, long hair flopping over his face. Behind him, standing amongst the trees, the senator could see many others dressed identically. What were they doing in the forest? It was supposed to be patrol from the air, warning off any strays. They were probably part of a gang of juvies. Robbins had heard that several had been seen in the vicinity lately. He looked on the other side of the track and noted with a sudden, unaccountable twinge that there were many on that side, too. Instinctively, he slowed the car a little, hesitating. As he did so, several of the juvies levered themselves away from the trees they were leaning against and walked purposefully towards the track. Robbins drove on cautiously. He began to see more and more youth, some of them clustering in bunches near the track. As he passed one of these bunches, a juvie spat deliberately at the car, his spittle splaying across the windscreen. The first trace of real alarm nudged at Robin's mind, and he looked into his rear-view screen. The track behind him was crowded, juvies walking easily along behind him. Some of the youths were running as if trying to pace the car. He increased his speed again, a little nervously. The car surged forward, its blunt nose thrusting as the lineal plates increased their field, hugging the aluminum strip. On either side of the track, the numbers grew. Most of the juvies just watched, but some of them, the younger ones Robbins guessed, some of them were shouting insults and waving sticks. The track before him streamed away in a gray curve of dull ribbon, disappearing around Packers. At the bend, Robbins could see a crowd of the youths looking towards his car expectantly. There must be 100 in that part alone, he guessed. The little knot of alarm had grown inside him, swollen by an unreasoned certainty that they had been waiting for him. He found he was still accelerating and glanced at his speed meter. It showed 120 kilometers per hour and rising. Another look at the screen showed him more juvies climbing down behind him. He looked around. Everywhere, it seemed, he could see the drably dressed youths flowing onto the track. His car shot silently towards the bend at Packers. Standing out like a promontory, the tree-lined bank convexed down to the edge of the track, bearing its cargo of young humanity jeering and cheering as the senator plowed down towards them. He was going too fast for the bend. He'd have to slow. He jabbed at his reverse flow, and the speed dropped away a little. The cheering rose as his momentum died, and the juvies pressed nearer to the track. He went into the corner too fast. He grappled with the emergency braking, fighting against the violent shuddering that tore through the cabin. Bucking and pitching, the plates ground against the strip, threatening to leave their guides. As he came out of the bend, something metallic and heavy crashed against the roof of the cabin, and a roar of approval came from the perilously balanced crowd of juvies. In his screen, he saw a great iron girder roll against the aluminum strip. And then he was round the corner. His car righted itself immediately, its gyro holding it level again. Ahead, the track was empty, straight and true. It ran for a full kilometer, slipping gently down the long incline. Dead ahead, he could see the tall shape of the Sessions Hall standing like a beacon on the horizon. A strange flash caught his eye, then another. Twin streaks of flame shot upwards from near the base of the hall and lost themselves in the cloud. Two more followed them, and Robbins realized what they were. The anti-missile site, unmanned and fully automatic, was being brought against something. It very much looked as if the senator's worst fears were justified. Immediately, it was all the more imperative that he get back to the hall. He looked into his rear-view screen. Behind him, the bend was crowded with juvies. They were making no attempt to follow him, evidently preferring to watch his progress. He checked his speed and saw that he had almost halted. What had happened there? Had they been trying to kill him on the corner? It seemed unlikely. From what little he knew of juvie habits, the senator was certain that whatever they did, they would make sure would work. And with the biggest gang he'd ever seen or heard of, he would expect something a little more positive than terror tactics. He sweated at the thought. If that was so, then they hadn't finished with him yet. He craned forward against the restraining pull of his safety webbing. At the end of the slope, he caught a movement, even as he watched hundreds of juvies wormed out of the trees. Pushing and jostling, they fought for position along the edge of the track. There was nothing orderly about their movement. It was as if they'd been released from a stockade all at once. They fought and shoved, several of them stumbling onto the track and over the aluminum strip. With horror, Robin saw that those that fell stayed there, making no effort to move. Many more were throwing themselves against the strip, deliberately placing their bodies in his path. Torn with indecision, he looked desperately around. What were they doing? Did they want to kill themselves? An idea struck him, and he reached across for the call kit. As he waited for a reply, he saw that the juvies by the corner were walking down towards him. The leaders, 5 rangy youths in ill-fitting overalls, were near the car, and he could see now that they were carrying weapons. He turned back to the call kit and held his finger down on the button. No reply. What the hell was going on? Then he remembered the girder that had hit the roof. It must have damaged the aerial. There was a crash, and his rear window starred into opacity. His screen showed some of the youths throwing stones. He'd have to move. Reluctantly, he started the car moving again down the slope towards the others. A great cheer rose as he began to move, a taunting ovation of derision and scorn. It died away to be replaced by a chant, an insidious and growing beat. A pounding, droning, throbbing drum of voices, frightening and stimulating. The mocking hymn grew and grew, and suddenly he caught the words. At last he understood what the whole thing was about. The chant was one word, one whose semantic roots lay far into the past, whose meaning had grown and swollen with the years, and one that now meant a semi-religious cult of suicidal magnitude. And all around Senator Robbins, the whole world shouted the word. Chicken. Chicken, they screamed. Chicken. 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 And this was a run. The full implication struck Robbins as his car reached the 50 kph mark. He had unwittingly let himself in for a run. Something that only happened to other people. He allowed his speed to build up a little more. His mind worked frantically. What was he going to do? Rather, what could he do? There seemed little choice. Behind him was a hard knot of juvies running now, he could see. Ahead of him, the pressing mob had overflown right onto the track, the aluminum strip flying into their bodies like a gray arrow. All along the track, the juvies stared at his car, watching defiantly as he accelerated towards them. Robin's fear suddenly evaporated, to be replaced by a strident wave of anger. These damn juvies couldn't push him around. Besotted with drugs, drunk with unwanted power, these unemployed and unemployable delinquents thought they ruled the earth. Thought. That was ironic. Robbins reflected as he encouraged more and more speed out of his car. They practically did rule some parts of the country. He shuddered as he thought of a world ruled by aging louts, the ignorant and cowardly, the weak-minded and strong-bodied. Every year's new unemployment figures added millions to their ranks. Another flash on the horizon worried the corner of his vision. Somewhere, in another world, it seemed, a war had started. He glanced at his speed meter and saw that he still had plenty of speed in hand. He wasn't far from the nearest juvies, and he began to imagine that he could see their faces. In fact, all he could see was a blur of white and brown, an untidy heap of humanity testing their bravery against his. He held his speed at a steady 100 and braced himself. Nearer, ever nearer. All around him the chanting screamed and throbbed, urging and pushing him to hold his speed. What was he doing? What was there to prove? He wasn't a coward. He knew that. Why did he have to test himself in front of these morons? There was no bravery in throwing a ton of plastic and steel at a mountain of human bodies, mangling and maiming, killing to prove himself. He wasn't a juvie. He wasn't ruled by any mob. He was a civilized person in a civilized community, a respected person in a position of trust. He was a senator and had the faith of 20,000 voters behind him, trusting his dignity and discretion. And most important, he was human. It was abhorrent to his very nature to kill for its own sake, to plow through 100 bodies, destroying life and making it a pleasure. He was 100 meters from the mound of juvies. The chanting throbbed into his consciousness, exciting and stimulating him, beating like the jungle drums of primitive peoples. It seemed to get faster and faster in crescendo of hate, mounting and spiraling as he sped ever closer. He could see their faces now, pink and white and gray, all of them staring fixedly at his car, waiting for him to brake. He could see their mouths opening and closing as they chanted. They'd never break. There were too many of them. They'd sit there until he killed them all. They'd sit there watching him, watching as he rammed them. He made his decision, grabbed the emergency brake, and applied full reverse thrust. He slammed forward into the webbing of straps, seeming to hang there as the great plates fought against the momentum. No scream of brakes, no squeal of rubber. A silent, steady, remorseless pull of power, acting like a barrier of unyielding cotton wool. He felt as if he hung there for an eternity, his reactions nil, eyes blinded by a sudden fireball. And then he was free. He slumped into his seat as the car stopped, a bare meter from the nearest juvie. He lolled forward, sliding down inside the straps, eyes still blind from the sun-white glare. Outside, a hot wind blew, and a great hand lifted his car. There was a terrible silence when he came round. The first thing he saw was his watch, still ticking and apparently undamaged. He'd been unconscious only a few minutes. There was something wrong with his vision, as if he were seeing everything through a maze of retinal shadow. He moved experimentally. There was a pain in his side, but nothing else seemed to be damaged. Automatically, he reached for the webbing release and freed himself. The car, with most of its windows smashed, was lying on its side a long way from the track. He climbed up through what had been the windscreen, treading cautiously in the broken remains of the controls. Outside, there was inferno. The sessions hall had vanished, replaced instead by a great trunk of cloud. On all sides, the trees had been flattened and stripped of their leaves. Many were burning, their smoke adding to the desolate cloud of nuclear release. And all around, the bodies of the juvies lay. All had been burned. All were now dead. Robin stood there for a long time. Presently, he began to cough, and blood trickled through his lips. He turned his back on what had once been the hall and walked erratically up the way he had come so recently. Overhead, a low flight of yellow rockets skimmed away from the black cloud.
Say, Doc, I found you a Joe.
Excellent. Have a seat, Joe.
Yeah, whatever.
What do you do, Joe?
I'm a plumber.
Really? That's it?
Doc.
Oh, I mean, that's it. That's fascinating. No, really. Joe the plumber, eh? Zombie, I can't do this. I have nothing to say to this commoner. Just looking at him makes me want to wipe my eyeballs with Windex.
Ask him what he wants.
What do you want?
Doc.
What is it that you might wish for yourself as an outcome of an American dictatorship?
I want to buy my boss out.
Ooh, a corporate takeover, eh? Ruthless. I like it. Please continue.
I plan on raking in over $250,000 a year.
From plumbing? Oh, now be serious.
No, from money laundering and tax evasion.
Zombie, if all average people are this crooked, I must get out of the castle more often. I'll tell you what, Joe, the plumber, I'll have Lobo fix us a couple of lime rickeys, and I'll tell you my plans for conquering and ruling the United States, and eventually the world. Nobody told you to join in the laughter.
What?
Go. Manage my campaign or something.
Why, you... Fine.
Now, where were we? Ah, yes.
This is Bob Wolfenbridgen, and welcome to Wolfenbridgen This Week. As the clock ticks down to Election Day, GOP has been running anti-Dr. Despicable ads on behalf of President Mowgli. Here's a clip.
Dr. Despicable. What do we really know about him? He's Slumgullian, a dangerous mad scientist. He pals around with terrorists, pirates, and zombies, and plans to raise your taxes. He suffers from an addiction to pie. He'll be dangerous for the United States.
My fellow Americans, we all know that this is an important election. It seems everyone I talk to is worried about something or another. For some, it's the economy. Others are concerned about war. In these turbulent times, how can we depend on the untested leadership of Dr. Dipsicle or the Sharky Revenger? I encourage you all to do your duty on Election Day. Vote no for those other guys and vote yes for me. Or, if the voting machine or the poll workers tell you that you can only do one vote, then make it a yes vote for me. Because hey, I'm pretty comfortable in the White House, and I really don't want to have to move all my stuff. I am Greg G. Mowgli, and I totally approve this message.
That's absolutely preposterous. I don't pal around with terrorists. I'm too competitive. I'd end up killing them all over brunch. And the pie addiction claim. Well, that's absolutely mad. I can quit any time I want.
Doc, I wouldn't worry about this completely meaningless attack ad.
And why would I raise taxes? All the money in the U.S. would be mine anyway.
Doc.
And what's wrong with being Slumgullian? If it's good enough for Mother Despicable, it's good enough for me.
Just watch TV.
Meanwhile, the snarky party candidate, the snarky Avenger, is still attempting to gain any footing whatsoever by campaigning in those swing states torn between President Mowgli and Dr. Despicable.
And the future of delicious and nutritious donuts depends on you, the voters, to support donut advocacy by supporting the Snarky Avenger.
You suck. Vote Despicable.
You've gotta be kidding me. What the? Are those flying teen monkeys?
Go, flying teen monkeys, squad!
Steve! Oh, those monkeys ripped off his bionic appendage. Wow. Is that disgusting?
And with all this jockeying for the lead, there seems to be yet another candidate.
Doc, I was watching that. It may have been important.
Balderdash. I've got this election in the bag, thanks to my charm, my charisma, my boundless intellect.
Well, and my campaign management. Doc.
Did I say charm yet?
That's it. I'm out of here.
Fine, go. I don't need a campaign manager. My awesomeness has put this campaign in overdrive.
And don't come crying to me when you lose.
I'm too awesome to lose, silly zombie.
And as the vote counting comes to a close, we go to Randy Towerhausen for a report from the candidates. Randy, take it away.
Thanks, Bob. The candidates nervously await the outcome of the election now as votes continue to trickle in. We have reports that President Mowgli is throwing a kegger in the Oval Office, while the Snarky Avenger has joined us here. Snarky Avenger?
Yes, Randy. It's good to be here.
You've run a respectable campaign and have been open and honest about your history. You've refused to run negative campaign ads and only focused on your opponent's policies instead of attacking their character. Do you regret that at all?
No. 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 Never. No. 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 No, Randy. No. Never. No. Okay, a little bit.
It seems that lately, prospective voters have been pelting you with donuts at your rally. There's even a report that General Hagenkraut, your running mate, threw a few donuts at you as well. Is this some reflection on how this election will bode for you?
No, Randy, I'm sure people were flinging donuts because I've made that an important part of my campaign. It's like people throwing confetti, only it's bigger and it's donuts, and sometimes they hurt.
You're not going to win this election, are you? And there you have it, Bob. At least he's not a sore loser.
Right you are, Randy. Truly a great American superhero, even if he didn't make a great politician. Folks, I've just got word that the final ballots have been counted. The results are coming through now. The winner is the last-minute entry in the presidential race, Joe the Plumber.
What?
Joe managed to sweep the election and win by a landslide.
But what do you want?
Hey, Doc, it's your old pal Joe. How you doing?
Why, you...
After you laid out your foolproof plan for running your campaign, I decided I'd try it myself. And you were right, it was foolproof. Just wanted to call and thank you, sucker.
Joe? Joe! Is this you, Joe? Let me tell you something, you traitorous...
Zombie.
Oh, what do you want?
Oh, nothing much. Just wanted to say...
Lobo! Pie! And lots of it! Now! And some coffee. Oh, I wish I hadn't burned down that cafe.
The Slumgullian Candidate was written by Brent Hinks, Casey Locke, and W. Ralph Walters. Lobo was played by John Carey. Bob Wolfenbridgen was Bill Holweg. President Greg G. Moogly was Brent Hinks. The mind-controlled followers were Therese Chavas, Brent Hinks, Ellie Hirschman, and W. Ralph Walters. The Snarky Avenger appeared as himself. General Tanhammer was played by K.C. Locke. Randy Towerhausen was played by Colin Snow. The voters interviewed by Randy Towerhausen were Therese Chavas and W. Ralph Walters. The press was Therese Chavas, Brent Hinks, Ellie Hirschman, and W. Ralph Walters. The rude passers-by were Therese Chavas and W. Ralph Walters. Dr. Despicable appeared courtesy of the Mad Monster Party. All other voices by W. Ralph Walters. The theme song was written and performed by Papa Suede. All other music licensed by Network Music, Big Fish Audio, or written by W. Ralph Walters. For more Frequency of Fear, visit frequencyoffear.com.